You've sent over a stack of articles on lipedema.
Oh, yeah.
So let's dive into this condition
Okay.
and uncover what makes it so frequently misunderstood.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things that really jumped out at me
Mm-hmm.
from these articles was this term,
Yeah.
chronic fat distribution disorder.
Right.
It feels like a much more complex issue than just, say, losing a few pounds.
Right. Exactly.
It's not about body size.
It's not about, just being overweight.
Right.
It's characterized by a symmetrical increase of fat, primarily in the legs and hips,
Mhm.
and sometimes the buttocks. Interestingly, the hands and feet are often spared.
It's almost like the body is choosing
It's true.
very specific areas to store fat,
Yeah,
almost disproportionately.
right.
So if it's not about weight, what causes it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
while there's still ongoing research,
Of course.
the articles you've shared point to a strong hormonal component.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right to notice that the fat distribution is different.
Right.
It's a key characteristic that distinguishes it from general obesity.
So it seems like this isn't something that only affects, say,
Right.
women who are overweight, as many people might assume.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the biggest myths that we're tackling today.
Right.
This idea that lipedema equals obesity. You've highlighted a study
Yes.
that found even women with a BMI under 25
Wow.
can develop lipedema. So that really shatters the assumption that it's a condition exclusive to larger bodies.
That's really eye-opening.
It is, isn't it?
It challenges the assumptions that many people, even some doctors, might have about lipedema.
Unfortunately so, yeah.
So, if diet and exercise aren't the root cause, what does that mean for managing lipedema?
Well, it means we need to shift our approach from weight loss as the primary focus
Okay.
to understanding and treating the underlying mechanisms of the disorder. While a healthy lifestyle is important for overall well-being,
Of course.
it often doesn't fully address the core issue of lipedema.
It's like trying to solve a complex equation with only one variable.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
need a more multifaceted solution.
Right.
And speaking of complexity,
Yes.
many of these articles emphasize the importance of understanding the stages of lipedema.
Absolutely, yeah, because lipedema is not static. It progresses through stages, each
Okay.
with its own set of characteristics.
So walk us through what those stages look like.
Okay, so in stage 1, the fat accumulation might be less noticeable.
Okay.
The surface of the skin is usually smooth,
Mm-hmm.
but individuals might start experiencing symptoms like, heaviness, aching, or easy bruising in the affected areas.
And as it progresses to stage 2.
So this is where the texture of the skin starts to change.
Okay.
You begin to see those subcutaneous nodules, that characteristic unevenness, and those initial symptoms often become more pronounced.
More pronounced. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about stage 3?
Yeah,
The articles you provided mentioned a term I wasn't familiar with. Women.
right. Right.
What exactly happens in this stage?
Yeah, so stage 3 is often where those larger, sometimes painful fat bulges, known as women, can develop. These aren't just cosmetic concerns.
Right.
They can cause significant discomfort and even mobility issues. Imagine large, sometimes hardened areas of fat that are tender to the touch
Oh, wow.
and make everyday activities challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds incredibly painful and limiting,
it is.
especially considering many women are dealing with the emotional burden of having their symptoms dismissed or misdiagnosed in those earlier stages.
You've touched on a crucial aspect of lipedema, the psychological impact. It's not just about the physical changes. It's about navigating a healthcare system that often misunderstands the condition
Right.
and a society that frequently equates body size with health.
It's almost like having an invisible illness that manifests visibly.
Yes, very much so.
And that can take a huge toll on a person's self-esteem and mental well-being
Absolutely.
and their ability to advocate for themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's heartbreaking to think about someone feeling so physically uncomfortable in their own body
Right.
while simultaneously grappling with this emotional weight of not being heard or understood.
It is, and it really highlights the importance
Yeah.
of raising awareness about lipedema and advocating for better diagnosis and treatment.
And speaking of treatment,
Yeah.
the articles you shared explore a range of options,
Mhm.
from conservative therapies to surgical interventions.
Right.
It doesn't sound like there's a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Treatment is often individualized. It can depend on the stage of lipedema, the severity of the symptoms,
Right.
individual needs and preferences.
So when we talk about conservative approaches, you highlighted compression therapy as one method that kept coming up in the articles
Right.
as a common starting point for managing symptoms.
It's often, yeah, kind of the first line of defense, you could say.
So how exactly does compression therapy help?
So imagine wearing specially designed garments,
Okay.
like stockings or sleeves, that provide consistent pressure to the affected areas.
Mm-hmm.
This pressure helps to reduce swelling, improve lymphatic flow,
Okay.
and alleviate some of the pain and discomfort associated with lipedema.
So it's like giving those overexerted areas a bit of support,
Yeah, exactly.
helping them to function a bit more normally?
Yeah, like a little hug for your limbs.
Right.
Yeah, and in addition to compression therapy,
Mm-hmm.
you highlighted another technique called manual lymphatic drainage, or MLD.
Yes.
It's a specialized type of massage that encourages the movement of lymph fluid,
Okay.
again, reducing swelling and discomfort.
It sounds incredibly gentle and therapeutic,
It is, yeah.
especially for someone dealing with pain and sensitivity.
It can be very beneficial. It is a hands-on approach.
Okay.
It does require a trained therapist.
And this is where I think that interesting insurance detail that you flagged comes in, right?
Yeah.
The one specifically about liposuction and lipedema.
Yes, exactly.
Because one of the articles
Yeah.
mentioned a unique insurance product
Right.
that's designed to cover complications specifically related to lipedema liposuction.
Exactly. And it really highlights, I think, a gap
Uh-huh.
in traditional health insurance coverage,
Interesting.
which often doesn't adequately address
Right.
the complexities of this condition.
Because it's so specific.
It is so specific,
Yeah.
and it really, I think, highlights the need for, more specialized care and coverage in this area.
It sounds like this specialized insurance is designed to offer additional peace of mind
Yeah.
in those rare cases,
Right.
where unexpected complications might arise during or after a procedure.
Yeah. It's there for that extra layer of kind of security and support
Right.
if something unexpected happens.
So we've talked about managing symptoms,
Yeah.
but is lipedema something that people just live with forever?
Right.
Is it always a progressive condition?
That's a really good question. And,
Because some of the sources did describe it that way.
they did. It has long been considered a chronic progressive condition,
Right.
meaning it naturally worsens over time.
Okay.
However, there is emerging evidence suggesting that might not always be the case.
Okay. So there's hope that it might not be a constant uphill battle for those with lipedema.
Yeah, there is.
That's a really positive development.
It is. One study you shared indicated that with proper management, particularly maintaining a stable weight,
Okay.
the condition may not necessarily worsen for some individuals.
That's huge for those who may have felt resigned to a lifetime of progressively worsening symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it really speaks to the importance of continued research
Oh, absolutely.
and this
Yeah.
evolving understanding of this complex condition.
And it really challenges, I think, the previous assumptions about lipedema and offers a sense of hope and agency for those seeking treatment.
It sounds like we've debunked some major myths about lipedema today.
We did.
We learned it's not just about weight.
It's not just about weight.
It's not something you've brought upon yourself.
Right.
And there are ways to manage it and potentially even keep it from progressing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think beyond the medical details, it's
Yeah.
crucial to remember the human element here.
Right.
This is a condition that can significantly impact a person's life,
Yeah, very much so.
both physically and emotionally.
Totally.
And that's really why we wanted to take such a deep dive into this research.
Yeah.
To equip those listening
Yeah.
with the knowledge to have more informed and compassionate conversations about lipedema,
Yes.
whether they're personally affected or they know someone who is.
Exactly. Spread the word,
Right.
because knowledge is power in this case.
Absolutely. And this deep dive has raised a thought-provoking question, I think, for me,
Yeah.
which is, if lipedema management can be this effective,
Right.
what could it mean for how we understand and treat other fat distribution disorders?
That's a great question.
It's an area ripe for exploration.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're just scratching the surface
Right.
of what we're learning about how our bodies work.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a clear understanding of lipedema
Yes.
and empowered you to continue exploring this really fascinating
Yeah.
and evolving area of health.
Absolutely.